Hello, everyone, and thank you for taking the time to be here today. Time and attention are two of the most valuable resources we have, and I'm honored that you've chosen to share them with me. My name is Stormy May, and for much of my life, I've been dedicated to understanding horses and the relationships we form with them. My journey's taken me from traditional training methods to natural horsemanship, positive reinforcement, and ultimately to something we now call autonomous horsemanship. Autonomous horsemanship is an approach that emphasizes the horse's ability to make choices and engage in its own learning, fostering mutual trust and respect between horse and handler. This method prioritizes the horse's natural behaviors and instincts, encouraging a partnership based on understanding rather than traditional training techniques. This approach has not only changed how I interact with horses, but it's reshaped my understanding of connection, of trust, and communication in all areas of life. Today, I want to address a question that every horse owner, trainer, or caregiver has faced at some point. And that's, this horse isn't doing what I want, now what? If you've spent time around horses, you've likely encountered moments of resistance. Your horse refuses to move forward, or moves too fast, or resists your cues, or simply behaves in a way that you didn't anticipate. These situations can be frustrating, even disheartening. It's easy to think, why won't they just cooperate? And without realizing it, we might label the horse as stubborn or disobedient or difficult. But what if I told you that these moments, the ones that test our patience the most, are actually invitations to pause, to reflect and listen? What if resistance wasn't defiance but communication? What if your horse was trying to tell you something important and all you had to do was take a step back and listen? This is the foundation of autonomous horsemanship. It's not about forcing horses to comply or manipulating them into doing what we want. It's about recognizing that horses are sentient beings with their own emotions, their needs and desires. It's about building relationships based on trust, respect, and understanding rather than control. When we approach horses this way, we create partnerships where both human and horse can thrive. So today, I want to invite you to explore this idea with me. Together, we'll examine why horses might not do what we want, how to approach those moments with compassion, and how autonomous horsemanship can turn frustration into connection. Along the way, I'll share personal stories, practical advice, and reflections to help you reimagine your relationships with horses, and perhaps yourself. But before I go any further, I want to make sure that you're in the right place. This is only for certain types of people. This is not for people who prioritize quick fixes, control, or performance-driven outcomes over building trust and connection with their horse. I'm going to talk about an approach that requires patience, collaboration, and a willingness to slow down and adapt to the horse's needs, which may not align with individuals who prefer traditional methods or immediate results. This approach challenges forceful or dominance-based practices and emphasizes self-reflection, personal growth, and respecting a horse's autonomy. People who are uncomfortable with giving their horse a voice or questioning their own behaviors are going to find it difficult to embrace. This is for those who seek a partnership rooted in trust and understanding, not for people unwilling to prioritize the relationship over results. So who is this for? Autonomous horsemanship attracts various individuals, including people who are compassionate caregivers. These individuals prioritize kindness and empathy in their interactions with horses. They reject forceful training methods and focus on creating a safe, low-stress environment, aiming to enhance their horse's emotional and physical well-being. It's also for curious learners. This philosophy appeals to those eager to understand their horse's behavior. Instead of labeling behaviors, they ask questions like, what can I learn from this? and view challenges as opportunities for growth and communication. It's for ethical thinkers. People drawn to autonomous horsemanship often value fairness and respect. They challenge traditional dominance methods, questioning whether it's fair to expect compliance without giving horses a voice. Their focus is on prioritizing the horse's autonomy and well-being. It's also for people seeking personal growth. These individuals are open to self-reflection and view working with horses as a path to developing patience, empathy, and mindfulness. They recognize that their own behavior and emotions significantly impact the trust and connection built with their horse. The diverse individuals attracted to autonomous horsemanship, those compassionate caregivers, curious learners, ethical thinkers, and those seeking personal growth, share a foundational understanding. They recognize that when a horse does not respond as a human desires, it's not an act of defiance, but rather a form of communication. A horse's behaviors often reflect their underlying emotional state, physical discomfort, or lack of comprehension within the partnership. By approaching these situations with empathy and an open mind, autonomous horsemanship practitioners can gain valuable insights into meeting the horse's true needs, leading to more harmonious and enriching interactions. So let's get to understanding why your horse doesn't do what you want. Horses don't have the luxury of words, but they're constantly communicating through their body language, their movements, and behaviors. Every action, every hesitation, every reaction carries meaning. When a horse resists, it's rarely about defiance. More often, it's a response to fear or confusion or discomfort, or even a lack of trust. It's their way of saying something isn't right. Let's consider a common example: a horse that refuses to move forward. In traditional horsemanship, this behavior might be labeled as stubbornness, and the solution might involve applying more pressure, stronger leg cues, a whip, or spurs. This thinking is that the horse needs to be corrected to comply. And while this approach might achieve short-term results, it overlooks the most important question: why is the horse refusing in the first place? There are countless possibilities. Maybe the horse is in physical pain from the saddle, a sore back, or hoof or a mouth issue. Maybe they're feeling anxious or overwhelmed by their environment. They might be confused about what you're asking. Or perhaps they simply don't feel safe. Whatever the reason, their behavior is a form of communication, and it's up to us to listen. This is the foundation of autonomous horsemanship, viewing resistance not as a problem to fix, but as a conversation to engage in. When we approach these moments with curiosity and empathy, we create space for understanding. We begin to see our horses not as tools to be managed, but as partners with their own needs and fears and emotions. Let's talk about the traditional view versus autonomous horsemanship. This perspective represents a departure from traditional horsemanship, which prioritizes control and obedience. In traditional methods, the focus is on getting the horse to comply with human demands, often through pressure and release or rewards. While these approaches can produce quick results, it comes at a cost. Horses may comply out of fear, submission, or coercion, not trust or willingness. Over time, this erodes the bond between horse and human. Autonomous horsemanship takes a different approach. Instead of asking, "How can I make the horse do what I want?" we ask, "Why is this horse behaving this way? What can I learn from their response?" This doesn't mean abandoning all expectations or structure. It means approaching our horses with empathy, curiosity, and a willingness to adjust our approach based on their needs. Let me share a personal story to illustrate this. Years ago, I worked with a mare named Sundance. She was a strikingly beautiful horse with incredible potential, but she had a habit that frustrated me endlessly. She would often just refuse to move forward. No matter how much I urged her or pushed her or tried to force the issue, she would plant her feet and refuse to budge. At the time, I saw this as defiance. I had been taught to escalate, to use stronger leg cues, to apply more pressure, and even use a whip. But with Sundance, this approach didn't work. She never gave in. At first, her resistance felt like a personal failure, but eventually it forced me to pause and ask, why is this happening? I stepped back and began to observe. I checked her saddle, I checked her bit, I had her evaluated by a vet, and I paid closer attention to her behavior. What I realized was that her reluctance wasn't stubbornness or disobedience. It was about my expectations. She was perfectly content in the pasture with her friends, and my needs did not align with what she needed at that time. When I stopped pushing and started listening, everything changed. Sundance began to engage with me willingly, communicating in subtle ways that I hadn't noticed before. The tension between us disappeared, and what I once labeled as bad behavior became a meaningful conversation. This experience taught me that resistance isn't failure. It's an opportunity to learn, to listen, and to build trust. Let's talk about the benefits of autonomous horsemanship for the horse. This isn't just a philosophy, it's a practice that transforms the way we interact with horses. By prioritizing their autonomy and well-being, we create an environment where they can thrive. Here are 3 key benefits for the horse. First, emotional well-being and trust. Horses, like humans, have emotional lives. They feel fear, joy, anxiety, and contentment. When we respect their autonomy and give them the freedom to express themselves, we build a foundation of trust. A horse that feels emotionally safe is far more willing to engage and cooperate. For example, I worked with a mare named Sophie, who was considered difficult. She resisted being saddled, bit and kicked when she felt threatened, and refused to follow commands. In the past, I might have responded with more pressure or stricter training methods, but instead I gave her space to make choices and express herself. Over time, Sophie softened. She began to trust me and engage willingly, not because she was forced, but because she felt safe. Second, reduce stress and anxiety. Traditional training methods often rely on force or dominance, creating stress for the horse. While a horse trained this way may comply, they often do so under pressure, not trust. Autonomous horsemanship reduces stress by giving the horse a voice in the process. Studies show that horses trained with non-coercive methods exhibit lower stress markers, such as reduced heart rates and fewer signs of anxiety. When we prioritize their emotional well-being, horses become calmer, more relaxed, and more willing to connect. 3. Physical health and comfort. Many behaviors labeled as disobedience are actually signs of physical discomfort. A horse that refuses to move forward might be in pain. A horse that bucks might have a badly fitting saddle or sore muscles. Autonomous horsemanship encourages us to address the root causes of these behaviors instead of punishing them. By prioritizing the horse's physical health, we often solve so-called behavioral issues naturally. Now let's talk about the benefits of autonomous horsemanship for humans. Autonomous horsemanship isn't just about the horse, it's also about us. This approach challenges us to grow as humans, fostering patience, empathy, and emotional awareness. One of the first lessons autonomous horsemanship teaches is patience. It asks us to slow down, let go of our expectations, and focus on being present with our horse. This can be difficult in a world that values quick fixes, but the rewards are profound. As we practice patience, we become more aware of our own emotions and learn to respond with greater clarity and compassion. Second, a deeper, more meaningful relationship. When we stop seeing our horse as something to control and start seeing them as our partner, our relationship transforms. Instead of focusing on results, we focus on connection. This creates a bond built on trust and mutual respect, which is far more rewarding than any performance goal. 3. Personal growth beyond horsemanship. The skills we develop through autonomous horsemanship patience, empathy, mindfulness extend into every area of our lives. They help us navigate relationships, manage stress, and approach challenges with a sense of calm and purpose. So let's talk about some practical steps for applying autonomous horsemanship. How do we apply them when a horse doesn't do what we want? Here are 4 steps. The first and most important step when your horse doesn't do what you expect is to pause. In traditional training, the instinct might be to immediately correct the behavior, to apply more pressure, or to push through the resistance. But in autonomous horsemanship, we take a different approach. We stop, we pause, and we reflect. Ask yourself, what is my horse trying to communicate? What might they be feeling? Often a horse's refusal or resistance is their way of telling us that something isn't right. Maybe they're confused or anxious or even in physical discomfort. Instead of reacting out of frustration, we need to take a moment to consider what's really going on for them. This is where mindfulness comes in. When your horse doesn't respond the way you expect, take a few deep breaths. Ground yourself in the present moment. Focus on observing your horse without judgment. What is their body language telling you? Are their ears pinned back? Is their breathing shallow? Are they tensing up or shifting their weight? By pausing and reflecting, we allow ourselves to step out of a reactive mindset and into one of curiosity and empathy. We give ourselves the space to truly listen to our horses before taking any further action. Second, listen to their body language. Horses don't communicate through words, but they have an incredibly rich language of their own, one that's expressed through their bodies, their ears, their eyes, their posture, their breathing, and even in the way they move their tail and their feet all have meaning. If we want to understand what our horses are trying to tell us, we need to learn to listen to that body language. Pay attention to the subtle cues your horse is giving you. For example, the position of their ears can tell you a lot about their emotional state. Forward-facing ears might indicate curiosity or attention, while pinned back ears could signal discomfort or irritation. A swishing tail might be a sign of frustration, and rapid, shallow breathing might indicate anxiety or pain. One of the best things you can do to improve your understanding of your horse's body language is to spend time observing them without any agenda. Watch them in the pasture, in their stall, or while they're interacting with other horses. Notice how they behave when they're relaxed, and compare that to how they behave when they're under stress. Over time, you'll start to pick up on the subtle ways they communicate their feelings. Third, adjust your approach. One of the key principles of autonomous horsemanship is recognizing that each horse is an individual with unique needs, preferences, and limitations. Just like people, horses don't all learn the same way or at the same pace. What works for one horse might not work for another, and that's okay. Sometimes when the horse isn't responding the way we expect, it's not because they're being difficult. It's because they don't understand what we're asking, or because our approach doesn't work for them. In these moments, it's important to be flexible and adjust our expectations. Instead of trying to force a particular outcome, consider trying a different method that respects your horse's autonomy. For example, if your horse is resisting going forward, instead of applying more leg pressure or using a whip, try changing the environment. Maybe they're nervous about something in their environment, and moving to a quieter area might help them feel more comfortable. Or if they seem confused by a particular cue, try breaking the task down into smaller, more manageable steps. Remember, the goal is not to get the horse to do what you want at all costs. The goal is to work with your horse in a way that makes them feel safe, respected, and understood. If something isn't working, don't be afraid to try a different approach. Fourth, focus on trust, not results. It's so easy to get caught up in the immediate goal, whether it's getting your horse to move forward, to jump a certain height, or perform a specific exercise. But in autonomous horsemanship, The focus isn't on achieving results right away. It's on building a relationship based on trust and mutual respect. And trust takes time. When your horse doesn't do what you want, instead of seeing it as a failure, see it as an opportunity to build trust. Every interaction you have with your horse is a chance to show them that you're someone they can rely on, someone who will listen to their needs and respect their boundaries. Celebrate the small victories. Maybe your horse didn't perform the task perfectly, but did they show more willingness to engage? Did they seem calmer and more relaxed? Did they offer a small step toward the behavior you were asking for? These are signs of progress, even if they don't look like traditional markers of success. Building trust isn't about immediate results. It's about showing up for a relationship where both you and your horse feel safe, understood, and connected. Over time, as that trust deepens, the results will come naturally, and they'll be far more meaningful and sustainable. So let's reframe challenges as opportunities, and the next time your horse resists, remember, it's not a failure, it's a conversation. It's an opportunity to pause, to listen, and to learn. By embracing the principles of autonomous horsemanship, you can create a relationship rooted in trust, respect, and understanding. Thank you for your time and attention today. I encourage you to reflect on how you can incorporate these ideas into your interactions with horses. Who are you in those moments of resistance, and what can you learn? The answers will lead you to a deeper, more meaningful connection with your horse and with yourself.